Hello guys, it is Gative Theories here, and it has now been a couple of months for us to process what happened in most likely the biggest cinematic event of all time. But a few months is never going to be enough to process the sacrifices in this film, such as Tony Stark. Honestly, when he died, everyone in my cinema just went completely silent, because I feel like a part of them was literally broken. Like, the room was so tense, and considering we've grown to love this character for 11 years in the MCU, it was just too much, and I don't think we'll ever get over him, which is why Spider-Man Far From Home was just so perfect. However, there was one other character that sometimes gets overlooked because Tony's sacrifice saved the entire universe, but he wouldn't have been able to do that without this person's sacrifice. That is, of course, Black Widow's sacrifice on Vormir that the writers totally just sprung up onto us. Like, we knew it would be a little risky when getting the Soul Stone, but sacrificing Black Widow in the middle of the film was just so unexpected and way too much to handle. Not to mention, originally it was meant to be Hawkeye who sacrificed himself, till they changed the script. Even Scarlett Johansson had it come as a shock to her. And considering she was one of the original Avengers, it's going to take us ages to get over her. And of course, Marvel has to just make us even more upset by releasing a brand new Black Widow movie at the beginning of Phase 4. Now, this is a prequel movie, and when we go and see it, it's just going to remind us that we've lost this brilliant character in any future movies, making us even more upset. But this movie all seems a little convenient to be coming out just after the hype of Avengers Endgame that will finally be down by then. I mean, surely Phase 4 should all be about the future of the MCU, considering they're releasing loads of new characters and TV shows, but instead they're releasing a prequel as the first movie that's taken place just after Civil War, when we've just witnessed the character die in the previous Avengers movie. It's not like Marvel didn't have time before to release this movie after Civil War, because clearly they liked adding movies to take place all at similar times, dealing with the effects of Civil War. Heck, Spider-Man Homecoming even involves the airport scene from Civil War inside the movie, and they also had Black Panther, Doctor Strange, Ant-Man and the Wasp, all dealing with the effects of Civil War. So why release another film taking place after Civil War about a character who we've just seen die in the biggest cinematic event in history? Maybe because it's not all over for this character. Adding these sort of movies always adds something huge. For example, Black Panther, which takes place after Civil War, added Wakanda, which of course played a huge role in Avengers Infinity War, and Ant-Man and the Wasp, which looks at the aftermaths of Civil War, looks deeper into the quantum realm, which, you know, is kind of important, I guess. It's not like without it, the Avengers would never have been able to travel back in time and, you know, be able to bring back everyone who was snapped out of existence and basically save the entire universe. So yeah, these films are pretty important that always take place after Civil War. So this new Black Widow movie will be introducing something huge, and I really doubt it's just a coincidence that it's going to happen in a movie surrounded by Black Widow. Maybe there's still a small chance she could return. But before we go any further in this video, make sure you click that red subscribe button down below and have your notifications turned on. Now, there are several ways Marvel could bring back Black Widow, as there's a lot more chance of her coming back than Tony Stark, because he's finished his story, whereas Black Widow didn't really get much of one. And it's not like Marvel isn't known for bringing back characters they killed off. Loki, anyone? But how could she return? Well, there is a bunch of ways. Let's get the most unlikely one out of the way first. She returns via the multiverse. In other words, a completely different version of her returns that doesn't know any of the Avengers. We know that the new Doctor Strange movie is going to focus on the multiverse, and did anyone also wonder why at the end of Endgame, Hawkeye goes up to Scarlet Witch of all people to talk about Black Widow and not anyone else? Like, no offense to Wanda, but I never really saw her with Black Widow. It might be because Hawkeye and Wanda are really close and Wanda is just helping Hawkeye, or is it because Marvel was hinting that Wanda could bring back Black Widow from the multiverse, because it has been confirmed that Wanda is going to be in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. However, this idea does mean that the Black Widow we knew would never come back, and I really doubt Marvel would do that because everyone would absolutely hate that. Speaking of Loki though and the multiverse, there is a slightly better opportunity for Black Widow to return, and this is from the alternate reality the Avengers created in Avengers Endgame. In Endgame, when the Avengers go back in time and successfully get all the Infinity Stones apart from the Tesseract. This is because when they travel back in time to 2012 and try stealing the Tesseract just after the battle in New York, something goes wrong when Tony Stark is hit in the head by the Hulk. This ends up allowing 2012 Loki to take the Tesseract and escape, so the Avengers then have to travel to 1970 to take the Tesseract again. And it's been confirmed that when Steve Rogers takes the stones back, that he puts the Space Stone back to 1970 and not 2012, because the brand new Disney Plus show Loki is looking at what Loki does when he gets the Tesseract in 2012, creating an alternate reality that isn't fixed. Which means there is the 2012 Black Widow in this alternate reality that is only a few years out of date from the other Black Widow that we're all used to. And it has been rumoured that this new Loki will return in Thor Love and Thunder, so he could maybe bring back Black Widow with him. But I know what you're all saying. Hey, why didn't they just travel back in time and take Black Widow away before she sacrifices herself? Because after all, this movie is all about time travel. Now that could be a possibility, however, I doubt the Avengers would do this. They were created to sacrifice themselves to save the population. That's why Black Widow and Iron Man do sacrifice themselves. They're called the Avengers, and the dictionary definition for avenging is inflict harm in return for an injury or wrong done to oneself or another, which pretty much sums up what Black Widow did. They wouldn't be doing much avenging if they just prevented the sacrifice from even happening. Their name, the Avengers, wouldn't really make any sense. So to work out how they'd bring her back is to look at the reason why she died in the first place. To collect the Soul Stone and bringing someone back after they sacrifice themselves for the Soul Stone isn't just as simple as snapping your fingers and bringing her back. The Hulk tries this and fails miserably because you're trying to bring a person back with the Soul Stone that they sacrificed themselves for in the first place, so it's pretty complicated. There's little much known about the Soul Stone apart from the fact that when you die for it, you don't actually die, you're still alive, but just not in the reality you came from. Instead, your soul goes into a pocket dimension inside of the Soul Stone itself. This is what is assumed to be the place that Thanos goes to at the end of Infinity War when he sees Child Gamora. The surroundings are orange and there's only one Gamora there, so it seems most likely that that's where they are. And these are the Avengers we're talking about. They can time travel, so surely they can enter a pocket dimension and save their friend. So that part is possible. But speaking of Gamora, let's look at her case, because we do see her in Avengers Endgame after we saw her sacrifice herself in Infinity War. Well, you can't really say it was her sacrifice, more like Thanos's, because I don't really think Gamora consented to herself being thrown off a cliff. But thanks to time travel, we see her return in Avengers Endgame, but not the same Gamora we all know. Instead, this version of Gamora is 2014 version, so the version that's on Thanos' side and doesn't even know the Guardians. We then see her help the Avengers in the final battle, but then she doesn't appear at Tony's funeral, and later on, Star-Lord reaches for her and his ship comes up with missing. So, does that mean she just randomly ran off, or was she snapped out of existence when Tony snapped his fingers as he got rid of Thanos' army? But I think it's none of them, because I doubt the Soul Stone would allow a sacrifice to be reversed or anything like that. So even time travel can't reverse this sacrifice. Red Skull made it pretty clear that it's a soul for a soul. As soon as you sacrifice your soul, then it's gone forever. Which got me thinking into Gamora's case. If we look at what her soul is like before she is thrown off the cliff, then we might get a better understanding of what the Soul Stone does. Just before she's sacrificed, she hates Thanos and wants to stop him, is part of the Guardians, has joined the Avengers in their fight, and is best friends with Nebula, her sister. Now let's look at what happens to 2014 Gamora in Avengers Endgame, who at first is all loyal to Thanos. But by the final battle, not so much, because in the final battle, does she hate Thanos and want to stop him? Yes, she goes and fights his army. Is she part of the Guardians? Not completely, but is on their side and has met Star-Lord, so I'm gonna say yeah. Has she joined the Avengers? Yes, she's fighting with them in the final battle and joins the female Avengers when they have their little moment. And finally, is she best friends with Nebula, her sister? Clearly yes, because throughout the whole battle, she is with Nebula. Then after she has ticked all these boxes, she isn't there anymore and doesn't appear at Tony's funeral or with the rest of the Guardians. She's nowhere to be seen, and this is before Tony's snap. So what happened? Well, it's pretty clear. Her soul is now the same as it was when she was thrown off the cliffs. Her morals are all the same now, because her morals are that she hates Thanos and wants to stop him, that she is part of the Guardians, that she has joined the Avengers in their fight, and is best friends with Nebula, her sister. So she's the same as she was before, and because it was a soul for a soul, now that her soul has returned to the one that she had in Infinity War, the Soul Stone has taken away her because she sacrificed that one soul, which is a different soul from the one 2014 Gamora had, because that Gamora's soul has different morals. For example, is an ally to Thanos. 2014 Gamora's soul likes Thanos and wants to be part of her side, whereas later on in the movie, her soul is like Infinity War's soul, which is where she hates Thanos and wants to be part of the Avengers. So that's how Gamora goes missing, but Black Widow might have a better chance. If the Avengers went back in time to the events just before Infinity War, or even during Infinity War, then she'd be safe. Because it was a lot easier for Gamora to return to her soul from Infinity War than it is for Black Widow to. Because it was a lot easier for Gamora to return to her soul from Infinity War than it is for Black Widow to return to her soul in Endgame. In Endgame, she's had 5 years of depression. This Black Widow has lost everything and hates Thanos and is willing to do anything to bring everyone back because she literally sacrificed herself. And it's very, very unlikely that this new Black Widow could ever return to having that same soul that the Black Widow that we see in Endgame has. Mainly the part about being depressed for 5 years, because if the Avengers did bring a past version of Black Widow back to the present, she'd never have to experience the 5 years of loneliness and depression, and her hatred for Thanos would still be high, but not as high because everyone is back and she didn't have to experience 5 years without everyone. So she'd never return to how her old soul used to be, so the Soul Stone couldn't trade this new soul for a soul because it's a different soul to the one that Black Widow sacrificed herself with in Avengers Endgame. It's really complicated to get your head around, but it does sort of make sense when you think about it. But anyway guys, that is the end of the video. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have enjoyed it, then please make sure that you smash that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Tell us in the field section down below if you agree with this theory, if you think there is a small chance that maybe Black Widow could return because she's going to be different to the Black Widow that we saw in Avengers Endgame. I know it's kind of confusing to get your head around, but I hope I've explained what I'm trying to get across here really well. And make sure that you let us know in the field section down below whether you are upset that Black Widow has gone, whether you want her to return, and whether you're excited for the brand new Black Widow movie that's going to be the first movie in Marvel's Phase 4, because I am so excited, because we're going to get one more movie at least with Black Widow in, but I'm hoping that she might return. But some people might not want her to return, so make sure to leave all your thoughts down there in the field section. And as always, we've been here on Gate of Theories. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.